want to earn more? Work less and enjoy what you do each day. It's no secret, it can be done. This podcast with Dr. T will not only educate and inspire you, it will also teach you how to do more and be more with the time you already have. It will be like a shot of adrenaline straight into the heart of your business. Here is your host, Tyson Franklin.
Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of It's No Secret with Dr. T. Today is another solo episode, and the reason I wanted to do a solo episode specifically today was because I just returned from the Australian Podiatry Conference in Adelaide, and it reminded me why it's so important to attend conferences, workshops, and other live events, and the benefits you cannot get by doing all your learning online or by just buying a virtual ticket. Now, last week, my guest was Scott Brown, and he spoke about networking the right way and how networking helps you build credibility. And I think attending live events is an extension of what we spoke about last week. And I'll admit, in my early career, I probably didn't place enough emphasis on attending live events. I went to a few local events, but to be honest, I probably should have attended more. In hindsight, looking back now, I know I probably should have attended more events to build credibility about who I was and what it is I wanted to do in my podiatry career. And honestly, there was no online world back then. So we got all our learning from books, journals, and by attending events, which is why I probably should have attended more. Now, it's one of those things, if you want to have a voice in your profession, you have got to be seen. You can't be silent. You can't sit back in your practice or your business and complain that things are not happening in your profession if you're not talking with the people that make decisions. And these are the people that are on your boards and on your associations. At the conference in Adelaide, I actually got to speak to a few decision makers from some of the universities. And for the past few years, since I wrote my first book, It's No Secret There's Money in Podiatry, I've been trying to get my foot in the door, so to speak to some of the graduating students. And I've never really been able to do it successfully. I've had a few connections, but never really gone too far. But I think these meetings, the people that I spoke to at the conference, this may have opened up a few doors. Also, at this podiatry conference that I went to, I set up in a booth with two other friends, and I set up a podcasting station for my other podcast, the Podiatry Legends podcast. And over the 3 days, I managed to get somebody from the Podiatry Association on each day. On day one, I had Pauline Taylor, and she is the events coordinator. So she was one of the brains behind putting on that whole event. The other person on day two was Annette Dodson, and she's the Queensland State Manager of the Association and also the Manager of Continuing Education. And on the third day, Ainsley Davies, and she is the Vice President of the Association. Now, connecting with these three people, the importance of that is they could finally put a face to a name. Now, they knew who I was and I knew who they were. But when you actually get to meet people face to face and you get to talk, not just while you're recording, but beforehand and afterwards, you actually get to know them a little bit better and they get to know you a little bit better, which is really, really important. The other thing that I noticed by attending this event is on my Facebook group, Podiatry Legends, had 28 people actually join that Facebook group over that 3-day period. So I don't know whether I spoke to them personally or not, but just by them seeing me at the event and seeing I had signage up there that had Podiatry Legends made them come along. So does that mean that you need to have a booth? No, not necessarily. But just by talking with people and then those people talking to other people, you know, they start searching you out. Also, I received a few emails from people that I'd asked to be guests on some of my podcasts that had said that they were too busy. And then this morning, I actually received a couple of emails from people saying, "Hey, Tyson, I'd love to be on your podcast." Now, what you'll probably find happen is I spoke to somebody at the conference who then spoke to somebody else, and they've sort of mentioned that my podcast is worth listening to, whether it's No Secret with Dr. T or the Podiatry Legends. And I think by them meeting me and talking to me at the event, building a little bit of credibility, gave my podcast credibility as well. There was a guy by the name of Jordan Harbinger, and he, on a particular podcast once, he said, dig the well before you're thirsty. Which means dig the well before you actually need the water. If you're dying of thirst and then you decide to dig the well, then it may be too late and you're probably going to die. And it's all about developing relationships now before you actually need them. There's no point when you get into a little bit of strife. Well, I'm not saying strife or that you're going to get into strife, but say you need a hand in a particular area with your business. You can't just go and call on people that you don't really have much of a relationship with. But if you do have a relationship with people and something happens in your business or personal life, and these people know you, if you reach out to them, they are going to help you as much as they can because you've built credibility, you've been seen, and you've actually been heard. Another important thing about going to these sort of events is also in the exhibitors booth, there are so many suppliers there, and it's a great opportunity to see new products, to see new technology, which gives you an idea of where your profession is actually heading. And it also gives you the ability to ask questions. The sort of things that when you ask questions face to face is completely different to when you're just sending an email. Plus, you're also attending events, and when you go to these exhibitors booths, sometimes a lot of freebies to be had as well. Not that I'm saying that you should only go for the freebies, but it is a bonus. I've heard some people say that attending events is too expensive. But what I find funny, the people that usually tell me that are usually the same people that you'll see on Facebook on these overseas holidays every couple of years. So you've got to get your priorities right. If you're serious about your profession, regardless of what profession you're in, you need, one, to be seen and heard, but you need to be attending events and you need to be networking with other people. You need to be gaining knowledge on a regular basis. And if you can't afford to go to a whole event, most events, especially if they run for 2 or 3 days, will have day registration. So maybe just attending one day will be all that you actually need. And here's a hack that I think is really, really important. I had a guest by the name of Wayman, and he was back on episode 5. It was called Fish Out of Water. But he was also on another podcast episode, episode 49, and gave this amazing hack. And because I'd said to him, I said, Calvin, you seem to be at a lot of events. Every time I go on Facebook or anything, you always seem to be attending events. And he said, here's the hack. You don't always need to pay to attend an event. And I paused for a little bit and I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, okay, let me explain. He said, there might be an event that goes for 2 or 3 days. He said, I don't particularly have the money to register for the event, but I know that the people that I want to connect with, some of the influencers, the people that make decisions, they're going to be in the foyer area and they're going to be in the bar before, during, and after the actual event. So he will go along to the event, he'll get his laptop, he'll set up, and he'll do all the work that he'd normally do from his home office, but he does it in the foyer area. And when people are off at talks and lectures, he will do his work. And then when he sees them all starting to come out, he'll close everything up, he'll get up and he'll start talking to people. And he said, what's interesting is a lot of people will come up to him and say, Calvin, I didn't realize you're at the event. He said, well, I'm actually not at this event right now, but I was in town and I thought I would just drop in to say hello. And once he starts talking to people, every now and then he's actually offered a free ticket to attend the rest of the event because they may have bought a certain number of tickets and they haven't been able to go to everything themselves, or the people that they invited said that they couldn't actually make it, so they've got a spare ticket. But I noticed when we were in the exhibitors booth, one thing that was really interesting, we were all given visitors passes. And with those visitors passes, we could hand them out to whoever we wanted. So if you happened to be in the foyer area that day and we were talking, and you said that, oh no, I'm not actually registered for the event, you still may have been invited in to actually look at the exhibitors booth, check out all the suppliers and sponsors of the event, and then also do some networking at the same time. So just keep that in mind. If you can't attend the whole event, maybe you just go to one day. Or if you can't afford the one day, maybe if it's in your area, just turn up. And speaking about what area it's actually in, yes, interstate and international conferences do cost a lot more to go to, but start looking at local events as well. It's not just people in your own profession that you need to rub shoulders with and network with, it's other business people as well. So if there's local events on, go along to these things, go along to lunches. I've got a friend here, Sam Harrop, who is a marketing and small business guy, and he runs a lot of events throughout the year, and his events are always worthwhile going to. The good part with them is you get to talk to other business people while you're there. So if you can't attend events in your own profession, make sure you at least attend other events that are in your local area. So I hope you get something from this today. It's one of those subjects that like I said, in my early career, I don't think I put enough emphasis on attending conferences, events, and workshops. But as I've gotten older, I've really seen the benefit of attending these sort of things and actually networking, building relationships, and being seen. That's what's important. So I hope you got something from this. And before I go, just want to mention an event that I'm actually running on the Gold Coast with Paul Graham and Scott Sorensen. And now this is really podiatry specific event. It's called Biomechanics and Marketing. It's going to be at the Gold Coast. If you want, on the 7th and 8th of June, if you want more details, go to my website, tysonfranklin.com. Click on what I do. From the drop-down box, there'll be the events. Click on that and all the details are there. So if you're a podiatrist, you want to know more about biomechanics and marketing, please come along. I know you're going to enjoy it. Okay, that's it from me. Look after yourself, look after your family, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye for now.